Looks like we got a terrible case of discrimination in Indiana, and is it surprising that these stories now are happening more and more? This time, a 14-year-old Latino kid was shot at and hit. I'll tell you all about it. His name is Brian Zaragoza. He's walking down the street in Indiana, of all places, and he explains what happens. Raw Story says Zaragoza, 14, told WXIN that he was walking home from the grocery store when he heard someone drive by yelling a racial slur. And that's when he felt a sharp pain in his side. Now, turns out he didn't realize it at the time, but he'd been shot. He's like, oh my God, what in the world just happened? And he goes to the hospital and he's got a bullet in him. I'll tell you more about that bullet in a second. But it turns out this was not the only shooting at that time directed against Latinos. According to WXIN, a second shooting took place at a taco stand. Oh, that's clever. Just minutes before Zaragoza was shot. The suspects reportedly aimed at an SUV with an adult and 2 children inside, but no one was injured, thank God. Okay, so let's understand the idiot minds of racists. Oh, I'll go shoot at a taco stand in the middle of Indiana, and I'm sure I'll hit Mexicans. Okay, now the second part of this is, why are these guys upset? Because we got people on television talking every day about, oh, the Mexicans coming across the border. They're criminals and rapists. Mexico is sending us all their worst. So you have to be worried about the Mexicans. So what are you going to do to prove how violent and dangerous the Mexicans are? You're going to shoot at random innocent people. Oh, I see, about how they are the criminals. By the way, very likely everybody involved here were U.S. citizens, the people that were being shot at. I didn't ask for their papers. That is incredibly likely if you're a 14-year-old in the middle of Indiana or you happen to be at a random taco stand in the middle of Indiana. But do racists usually have a good sense of logic and reason? No. Now, this, you know, if they prove it out and they find the guys, and by the way, it appears to be the same guy. Let me give you more details on that. Zaragoza's description of the shooter's vehicle was said to match the vehicle that targeted the taco stand. Investigators also recovered 40-inch caliber shell casings from both crime scenes. I don't know anything about guns. Is that 40-inch? Probably not. 40 caliber shell casings. Okay. So the idiot mind of racists that come in here, and what do? I mean, this is an act of terrorism, isn't it? When you target people based on their race and you try to terrorize a community and you go do several shootings, and you're yelling racial slurs while you do it. Let's hope they catch the guys. Let's find out what their motivation was, and then we'll be able to determine if it was or if it wasn't. But if Muslims were going in the middle of Indiana and shooting, you know how conservatives are paranoid and crazy, and they think Muslims are coming to take over every place, right? If a couple of Muslim guys started shooting up Indiana and just shooting at white folks or Christian folks, would we call it terrorism? You know the answer to that. Everybody in the world knows the answer to that, right? This is now minor blips. Oh, and now Latinos are being shot at because of the atmosphere of hatred that it's brewed against them. That's a tiny little story. Well, let's move on with our lives. Get back to the things that matter, like Muslims, right? But forget the Muslim angle, man. Look at the political stuff here. Look at, you start saying that Mexicans are the bad guys, and what do people do? They immediately take action and start targeting them. As for Zaragoza, doctors decided to leave the bullet lodged in his back because they said that removing it could be dangerous. So that 14-year-old kid is going to carry that bullet around right next to his back the rest of his life. So who are the dangerous criminals again? Remind me.